Hey guys, welcome to the Hey DJ show. I'm your host, DJ Jimenez. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're over on YouTube, please go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe for more content. Remember, you can catch this podcast on the go wherever you get your podcast. And do consider following me on every social media platform at Hey DJ Show. With all that boring stuff out of the way, I'm really happy to introduce my next guest, William F. Burk. William, how you doing, man?
How's it going, man?
Oh, man, great. Dude, first off, thank you so much for making the drive. I always feel bad whenever my guest hits like a certain threshold in distance. So probably after 30 minutes,
it's really not a big deal because Google Maps.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny because the house pictured on Google Maps is not your house.
Really?
Yeah.
So I'm glad you got it.
So I pull up and I'm like, oh, maybe someone will have a shotgun. I don't know.
I have a dog and barks, but she's
I
super
also
friendly.
didn't know there was a Lake Ackworth.
Oh, Lake Ackworth?
Yeah,
have you ever been to Ackworth?
Yeah, there's a Lake Ackworth.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because when I was driving by, I was like, I don't do lakes. It's kind of funny. I have what you call it, thalassophobia.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fear of dark water.
Lake
Nessie's there. I just know it. I know it. Not today, Nessie.
All right, wait. For real, do you believe in the Loch Ness Monster?
No, not really. But you never know.
Yeah.
It's like the whole ocean thing.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, oh, we only know 5%. You could tell me anything lives in the ocean. I'd be like, that shit's probably real.
No, for real. I think I was in the 8th grade when I found out that fun fact and about how deep and there's parts that we haven't discovered because the pressure. I didn't know about that, and I was just like, wait, what? And then my science teacher, she pulled up for the class the newly discovered fish at the time. It was like, yeah, this one fish we just discovered 5 years ago, and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
I feel like we already know everything, kind of. I was in 8th grade. I'm an idiot.
They're like, we know more about the surface of the moon. It's like, yeah, it's all rock.
Yeah,
that's why we know more. There's nothing there.
Yeah, no, the ocean is definitely freaky. The fear of dark water. Okay, I like to meet the person who's not afraid of dark water because I'm not afraid of water. But
dude,
yes,
no. Lakes and the ocean. I'll swim in a pool. That's cool. Lakes and the ocean. Something's there, man. Something's gonna. It's gonna happen.
I'm still a little bit iffy on pools at night. I'm just like,
well, think about it. You're swimming in a lake. Something grazes your. Is it a fish? Is it a harmless fish?
Yeah, no. I think of the worst things.
We don't know.
Yeah, I always joke with people, going I only have 2 fears in this world: needles and sharks. And no, dude, and it's reasonable too because I've always heard this thing. Maybe you've heard it too. It's like, oh, just punch a shark. If a shark darts towards you, just punch it in the nose. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Have you ever punched underwater?
You're a weak little bitch. Balboa.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you talking? I am not Rocky. And even then, punching a shark in the nose,
that's wild.
No.
I hear that they have their skin is sharp.
Yeah, it's like sandpaper.
It comes up like that. So if you're punching it, no. It's not happening.
But I'm just saying, even if their skin was smooth like a dolphin's, have you ever punched underwater?
Dude,
I'm not.
No, it's not happening.
No, it's not happening. And so no, I fear sharks. If I'm in the water, they win. No matter, I'm not a fast swimmer.
No,
they
it's
win.
Not even a fight.
It's not a fight. They win.
If you're in the ocean and there's a shark, you're done.
I'm done.
It's it.
And the thing is, my mind is the way it works is so stupid because. If I meet a bear, the bear wins, but for some weird reason, I have a dumb confidence where I'm I feel like I could outrun you.
I can take him.
I feel not can take him physically. I feel like I can outrun you, outmaneuver you, juke you. Be I'm gonna go.
Me and my buddy Jacob, we always play this game. We'll just be sitting down, and I'll just point to him, be like, "Think you can take him?" And he's like, "Yeah, probably." And I just sitting down with him one day. I'm like, "You think you could take a bear?" He's like, "Maybe a black bear." I'm like, "You're a fucking idiot." That's what you are.
No, I know I would lose for sure, but my dumb mind, if I met a black bear out in the woods, I'm like, I feel like I can outrun you.
Oh, dude, there was I think a random historical fact. Lewis and Clark, when they were venturing out, they ran into a grizzly bear. And it took 11 shots to kill the thing.
I don't doubt it.
It was they couldn't kill it. They were like, holy fuck.
I don't doubt it because of the guns that they had back then. I feel like the guns we have now, you could probably hold your own, but still, it's still
They
a
thought
scary
they were
experience.
gonna find dinosaurs.
Yeah.
If you ever feel dumb, they thought they're like, we're gonna go to Wyoming and find dinosaurs. Like,
Yeah. Oh man. So with with all that, dude, thank you so much for coming. So for people who don't know, William, there's a reason why this book is here on my desk. It's not there randomly. He is the author of Angelica, Demonica. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Angelica, Demonica.
I'm sometimes
1.
illiterate.
Yeah, no. And actually, it's kind of interesting. I'll give you the link for the show notes, but the the sequel to my novel, The Heart of Hearts, came out like today.
Oh wow.
So, yeah. I'll give you the.
Oh man,
I should have brought you a copy of that one, but I'm dumb.
Good, but hey, no, that's awesome. So he is the author of Angelica, Demonica. It's a light novel, like basically like a manga, but it reads as a.
It's just a novel. Yeah. It's
But honestly, like let me say this, dude. As I was reading this, it was picturing like a manga, like for real. Like I'm not saying you. We just met. This is the first time we just met.
Yeah.
We met through a mutual friend, and I was. I'll tell you the story in a little bit, but yeah, like it's an easy read, and you paint the picture so well. Like I'm pretty a fan of anime, and I was picturing like some of the fight scenes, some of the dialogue, some of the like the gasp and stuff, like in an anime.
Good to know.
And dude, no, you
man.
did a great job. Like, and people, you guys should pick you up a copy. He's also local, so support your local authors, dude. Like, it's such an honor to have you on the show.
This story right here actually has sort of an interesting history to it, because it began. Initially, the story came to me way back. This was the first story I ever actually thought of. It wasn't the first one. This novel was not the first one I published. The Heart of Hearts was the first one I published, and they're not directly related, but everything in this Tale of Gods and Men series is one timeline. Right?
Okay.
But anyway,
so it's like the same universe.
Yeah, this is the first chronologically. So this happens first.
Okay.
Anyway, so this story actually began as a manga, and I worked with her name on.
Yeah, like I saw it on the back.
Yeah. Her name on what is it? No, I'm talking about the artist.
Yeah.
The artist name it's Colorless. She goes by Kuru, but her name is Colorless. That's her handle on Twitter.
Yeah.
And
Colorless,
yeah. And she was the artist, and then eventually
the ones that did like these art.
Yes,
Yeah, man,
she did those. Good. She hates that art, and that's why I put it in there.
What?
She
this
was
is
like,
awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's just an artist thing. You're always gonna hate.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know. You're always gonna hate what you do.
I love what I do. I'm just kidding. I'm not an artist. I'm just a podcaster.
You psychopath.
Like, okay, like I really do like this picture because I'm guessing that's Adonai, and yeah, like that. Anybody with bald and a goatee, right there, you don't mess.
I tell you the thing, it's interesting because the manga version is so different. Like it's so different. It actually the first I think the first 3 chapters of that book are pretty much from the manga, and then it just sort of takes its own thing. But yeah, no, it started as a manga that failed basically, and then what it was eventually I stopped writing scripts, and I started writing novels, and I wrote The Heart of Hearts, and then I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna just write this one because I still wanted to tell it.
Yeah,
like I still wanted to tell that story. Like I believed in it, and so I was just like, you know what, let's do a light novel. And so it actually that's like a physical copy of it, but it's actually free to read on Tapas.io, which is kind of like Webtoon in a way, but they have novels. It's comics and also novels. And so I'm starting the volume 2 like this month.
Yes,
it's not going to come out until it starts in January. Because when I do these chapters, since they're weekly chapters, I
Mhm.
do a bunch at once. And that way I have padding in case something comes up or, I can't get in, my editor can't work that day or
Mhm.
something like that.
Yeah, that was gonna be one of my questions. It's like near the end. It's like, yo, I enjoyed this. When can I expect volume 2?
Yeah, yeah. The next one, I don't want to tell too much about it, but I'll tell a couple things.
Yeah, no
So
spoilers. I mean, even
no,
though
no,
it's
no
for
spoilers.
yeah,
I'm gonna just say a couple things.
okay.
One, it's called the Red Widow arc,
Hmm.
and two, vampires.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
My world has vampires in it, and it wasn't like this whole universe having vampires. It wasn't like something that I planned to have.
Oh really?
Yeah, it was just like because in the Heart of Hearts, it was written one way, and then I had to do a major rewrite in that novel,
Oh wow.
and it was I was like, you know what? Let's just add vampires. But it's like I was just like I want to do vampires that like eat people, like like they turn to dust in the sun and they eat people and I like that because it kind of lets me be dark.
Yeah.
It kind of lets me sort of spread my dark wings. And
Nice.
it gets. I mean, something about vampires is just intrinsically dark.
Yeah. Are
So
you doing like the traditional vampires?
yeah, in
Like
a way,
yeah.
yeah, they are traditional.
With like different things. You said like eating people, but like like
They
only come out at night
Yeah,
kind of
yeah, yeah.
thing.
It's like the traditional thing.
Yeah.
I picked that because it was very uh they have their own type of magic and stuff, of course, because it's fantasy. But and I mean vampires kind of have that anyway, just
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, no, I picked that and I was like, well, they need to like turn to dust in the sun. So they need to and so this next volume is going to be a vampire arc.
Nice.
And the chapter 1 is called The Man in the Obsidian Mask. And so I'm starting that one like today.
Oh man,
So
that's
it's
dope.
so exciting to do. It's so funny because like when I talk about this stuff, I'm just like, yes,
Yeah, no, good.
yes,
Honestly, so like my show doesn't have a theme. Like I just want to meet cool people and talk about life, talk about serious things, funny things. I want to talk about it all. Nothing is off the table. And but what I will say, like one of my like kind of favorite guests to have are people who are passionate about something that like I have no idea about, because it really, when you get into it, it makes me get into it.
oh yeah,
So like I'm not an
100%.
author, I'm not a writer, but like you just created this world, this universe, and hearing you talk about it, hearing you talk about the plans, and we're gonna get into it, just makes me more excited. And I just read the book, and I can honestly say,
Did you
like,
read the whole thing,
I read the whole thing.
bro?
Yeah.
Holy shit!
No, I
Holy
made it
shit!
a point. I told Morgan. So okay, we'll get into it. Okay, so Morgan, shout out to you, Morgan. So one day, just
Go
really
fuck yourself,
randomly,
Morgan.
yeah, really randomly, I was at work and I had a little bit of downtime, and I just checked my Snapchat, and I have her on Snapchat, and she took a picture of this at a bookstore,
Yeah.
and with the caption saying like, "Oh, I'm friends with William. Support your local author," and all that stuff. And right under the book, it said local author, and immediately I hit her up and I was like, "Yo, do you know this guy?" And then she was like, "Yeah, I know him. Like, we went to high school and all that stuff." And I was like, give me his contact. Like, let him know. Like, I would like him to be on my show. Free promotion on his book. Like, if he's down, then I'm down. It'd be great. And then she was like, "Yeah, like I'll hit him up. I think that'll be cool." And then she was like, he checked out some of your stuff. He said that like he wants to do it. And I was like, yes. And so
Would it have been weird if you were like, "Do you know this?" She's like, "No, I don't know him.
no, I don't know. I
I'm
was
just
like,
proud of him."
can you contact them?
Like, do you know this guy? Like, no, I'm just proud of him in general.
Local authors, like, oh, team local.
Like,
And I'm
no
all
clue
about
who he
I'm
is.
all about that. And so she said like, yeah, he checked out some of your stuff. He said he's down. I was like, all right, cool. And because I told her like, if you're down, I'm gonna buy the book. I'm gonna make it a point to buy the book, read it, because like I want, like, no spoilers, but like I do want to talk a little bit about it. And I read it and finished it, and I was like, this is good, all right.
Bro, that's what's up.
I'm not
man.
about to read like 10 pages and then have you on the show and we can't
I
really talk
listened
about that.
to I listened to your most recent
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta hear his most recent one.
Yeah.
But I'm a big fan of podcasts. Like,
Yeah.
I work my day job. It's really a night job, but I'm a security guard.
Okay.
So I have a lot of like time to listen to stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'll listen to audiobooks or like podcasts and stuff.
Yeah.
And I really love the podcast format because it's just like I said before we started. It's like you're a fly on the wall in
Yeah,
in
it's
someone's living
people
room.
like, especially when it's a long form interview, you get time to relax. You're talking about, you derail, and you're talking about other stuff, and it to me it feels the most genuine,
Oh
because
yeah,
like there are some podcasts, and I'm not knocking them because they're more successful than mine, that are like 20 to
nah,
30
we're mocking them.
minutes.
Fuck these guys.
They're like 20 to 30 minutes, and I'm like, nah, get that shit out. But if a podcast is an hour or more, an hour and a half, I love that. I love long
Oh
form
yeah,
interviews, because the person gets to relax, they're being authentic, because you can be fake in like 20, 30 minutes, like
oh dude, for
you have
sure.
to be professional. You're promoting your stuff, and the person has so many questions. Like, I have questions written down, but that's mainly for me to keep myself on track on time. Oh wait, by the way, I should have said this before. Do you have a time restraint?
Today?
Yeah, like,
No,
okay,
no,
there we go. Anyways,
I have no friends.
all right, cool.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, because like my physical limit is 2 hours, but like not saying like I'm trying to hit 2 hours. It's just like
No,
it's a whole technical thing with
we can just
Spotify.
go as long as it naturally goes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh, but anyway, so yeah, with podcasts, uh, that I don't really watch TV anymore, but I listen to so many podcasts. Joe Rogan being my number one, and yeah, I just like a group podcast. Like, if it's somebody by themselves, I'll listen to them a little bit, but I love group or people, one on
Yeah.
one or with several people. And like you said, it's a fly on the wall. You get to be a part of the conversation, and it goes from silly to serious to back to silly to whatever. Sometimes you learn. I
Yeah.
listen to a hunting like hunting slash camping podcast. I've never been hunting. I don't really do camping, but I like listening to these people because I'm trying to get into it. And I listen to this one podcast, and they paint such a great picture, and they're sharing this cool story, like
Yeah.
a campfire. And I'm like, I want to be a part of this world. Like,
You're like,
so,
I am the wild.
yeah.
I am the wild now.
Oh man. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, she hit you up, and then I bought the book, read it, and made it a point. Like, I gotta finish it before you come. So like, when we were planning it, for today's December 1st. I don't know when
we
this
planned it
episode was
like
there.
we planned it like last week.
Last
Did you
week.
read that like in a week?
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's so
Well,
cool.
a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
like I hit you up. When I hit you up, I was already halfway through the book, and then I basically finished it today. Like,
Wow.
I read back to make sure, like, to get the ending a little bit fresh in my head. But yeah, no, I made it a point to like read 10 to 20 pages a day.
Wow.
Sometimes I'll end up reading more. But I'm not a big reader. I'm trying to get back into it. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
trying to get into it. But yeah, when it comes to somebody being on my show and also a local author, I'm like, nah, I gotta do
I
it.
tell you the thing about reading that's interesting is like as a writer, like this is kind of a twofold thing. So like
Mhm.
once you start writing and you start reading as a writer,
Mhm.
you no longer read as a reader. So
Really?
like when you read, it's like it's not really like you like, of course if you read a story and you enjoy it, you enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
But as a writer, when you read, you're analyzing the whole time.
Mm.
You're looking at
You can't shut that part off.
no, you can't shut it off.
Dang.
And but it's good. Like when I had an interview back when Heart of Hearts came out, all the way back in like I think it was like 2020 when it came out. Anyway, it was a written interview, and the last part of the interview was like, "What would you say to people who want to write?"
Mhm.
And everything. Whenever someone asks me how how can I start writing, it's so easy. It's read a lot and write a lot. That's
Mhm.
it. I there I actually I love bashing this, but there's so many writing rules out there. Like don't do this, and you have magazines like Publishers Weekly. There's like 10 things that's wrong with your novel, or three or write a novel and like the thing is I think what people need to realize is there's no formula.
Mhm.
And like I have I have a philosophy. It's not a formula.
Mm-hmm.
What it is it's basically guideposts. And I call it my rule of 5. So whenever I go to write a story, because I'm what you call a pantser, which is someone that doesn't outline. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
I've tried. Like I sit down to outline and my brain just goes numb.
You just gotta like do it.
Yes, but I have what I call my rule of 5, which
Mhm.
is basically the 5 scenes that I have in mind in order to write the story.
Mhm.
And that is the opening, the first sentence, and then something I call the driving purpose, which is the call to adventure, which I get that from Joseph Campbell and his what is it? The hero with the hero with 1,000 faces.
Mhm.
It's a book anyway,
That
and then
sounds
I have the
familiar.
twist or revelation, which is just that is the twist in the story, and then the climax, which I kind of define the climax loosely because I think that a book has more than one climax. I think it'll have several sub climaxes and then like the main turning point in the story. But I like to define those sub climaxes as emotional. They're like emotional beats.
Mhm.
They're like emotional points in the story, and then the main climax would be what we would call the most emotional part in the story. And I don't mean emotional as in like happy, sad. I mean emotional as in like resonance with the person. So the turning point is the big moment where it's the resonance with the person. And then finally is the final scene, which I like cliffhangers. A lot of I see on Twitter all the time. They're like, "How do you feel about cliffhangers?" And people are like, "Fucking hate them." And
Yeah.
I'm just like, I love cliffhangers.
I, I have a mixed relationship with them. Like this is gonna sound so cop out, but if it's done well, then I don't mind them. But sometimes I'm like, I like a good ending.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
but one of my favorite movies, Whiplash with J.K. Simmons and Miles Teller, uh, technically ends on a cliffhanger, and it's done so well. Like I
oh
could go
yeah.
on. Like, have you seen the movie?
No, I've never seen it.
I highly recommend it, especially if you love music and like a good student teacher relationship. It's a great movie. You don't have to be into music, but if you are, it's even better. But that ending, I won't spoil it. Uh, technically ends on a cliffhanger, and it's done well. But then movies like Inception, have you seen that?
I have. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen Inception.
that one's technically on a cliffhanger, and that one I I don't hate, but it's not a big deal to me. Whether basically spoilers, even though the movie's been out for like 10 years, uh,
Spoilers, close your
yeah,
ears.
that you don't know if he's still in a dream or not. Like
Yeah,
I I literally sat there and I'm like, well, who cares? Like I don't.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say it this way: if it's a series for the final book, I believe, and this is me personally, for the final book, I believe there should be a resolution.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just finished reading uh the last of the Shanra books, and it sort of has an open ending, and I fucking hate that. I do. But like if it's a series like 1, 2, 3, 4, or so 1, 2 trilogy, I believe if you're gonna do a cliffhanger in those, I
Yeah.
like that
Yeah. That makes
because it
sense.
pumps you up for the next book.
Yeah.
But if
Exactly.
it's the third, like final, do not leave me hanging, you motherfucker.
Yeah.
Please don't, because it like the thing. I think the thing that like you have to realize. I think the thing you have to realize with uh writing and being a writer, and like one thing I always think about is I'm asking something.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the things I always compare this to like the dichotomy of artists and writers, where if an artist has like a if there's like good art, right? You can digest that instantly.
Mm-hmm.
But with a novel, I'm asking like anywhere from 8 to 10 hours of your life for you to read that. So when I go to write a story, I have that in mind, and I'm like, this has to be worth their time. You know, it's like, and so that kind of, in a way, that kind of like works against writers because people know that they have to invest that time. So a lot of the times, that's one of the things that like people think about when they're reading a book. They're
Yeah.
like, do I want to invest my time? They don't think about it. They think about it subconsciously.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody's picking up a book and like, can I spend this time? But like subconsciously, that is a factor.
Yeah.
And so whenever I write a story, I always keep the reader in mind when
Mhm.
I write a story. Whenever I get stuck, there's actually an old saying in showbiz, and I can't remember who said it, but there's an old saying like in like movie making, and like the movie making world, it's like uh, whenever things get boring, a man comes in with a gun. Like that's the saying. Yeah, whenever things are not working, a man comes in with a gun.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my mentality whenever I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, I think this is not working, right?
Mhm.
I ask myself, what can I do to make this entertaining? And sometimes you have to sacrifice for that. You have to say, well, it comes to your mind. You're like, well, this would make it interesting, and you just go with that because
Mhm.
you want it to be interesting. I really don't write for any sacred reason.
Mhm.
I do it because I just want to write things that people will like.
Yeah.
That's just how I think of it. I really don't even think of myself as a writer. I think of myself more as a storyteller.
Nice. Like so that kind of that's a perfect segue to this question. Like, I know obviously have to ask it. Like, what inspired you to be an author? Like, was it something like you kind of stumbled around in high school, or is it something like you've always kind of known?
I so here's the thing. So and people will disagree with me, but I don't give a shit.
Good. I
Um,
like it.
so I think because oftentimes as an author, you're asked, that's my phone. Let me turn
No,
it
it's all
down.
good.
Let me turn it down. I thought I turned it down, but I didn't. They can go fuck themselves. Anyway, so but the question, how did you become a writer? I think is I don't want to call it a wrong one, but I think it's a misguided one. Because I think, like for me, being a writer was kind of like being diagnosed with a disease.
Hmm.
Like I didn't know I was a writer, and then, which I'll tell you the story. But when I started writing, looking back at it, I was like, I was always a writer. But how I got started, it's a funny story. So in the Heart of Hearts, the dedication is to a man named Richard, and he was a teacher in high school. And Morgan knows all about this. In high school, I was very much a delinquent. Uh, I was such a delinquent that I wasn't allowed to go into classes. Like they were just like, go to detention. They were like,
I
you
don't know what you did, but go
they
to detention.
yeah, they were just like, yeah, it was like because I was always a class clown, and that was just how it was really how I retained information.
Really?
Yeah, well, like I think the thing the teachers didn't realize is like, he's talking shit about this stuff, but he's talking about it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like he's still
Okay. I
talking
see.
about it.
Man, this is so stupid. 2 + 2 = 4. All right, two
Yeah, be
plus two
like,
equals four.
fuck you guys, quadratic equations. But anyway, like,
My brother's a math teacher. He's a mathematician, and like, yeah, that's funny.
like, but anyway, yeah, no, it's kind of a funny story because back when I was in high school, we had what we called the end of course test,
Yeah.
and I was in a biology class, and that teacher hated me so much that she had it arranged for me to go to detention instead of her class for like the last 3 months of the class.
Jeez,
And like
overkill much.
she didn't give me any, like there was no work to be
Yeah.
graded. They were just like, fuck this kid. And so I they gave me like the previous edition
Hmm.
of the biology textbook. And then the end of course test came around, and I, been in ISS for 3 months, and so I just take it. And the end of the year comes around, and things are a bit more lax at the end of the year. So I get up and I go into her classroom just to bother her, and I'm like, so what you doing? And she's just sitting there. She's like looking at the scores for the EOCT. I'm like, who made the highest grade? She just clenches her fist. She goes, "You."
No way.
Yeah. It's even better because in homeroom, the dude that sat beside me, I think his name was Tyler. Anyway, he was like, I mean, AP, straight laced student.
Mm-hmm.
He gave a shit about his future.
I felt that so hard.
Yeah. Like, so we're sitting there and he's like, so who made the highest in your class? And she's like, Will did. And he just turns to me and he goes, what did you make? And I'm like, 92. And he goes, that's what I made. And it was just like, holy shit. And you tried. Like,
But how'd you wait? If you both made a 92, I should say, like, did you make a 92.8 while he made a 92.2 or something?
I made a 92 on that test,
Yeah.
and failed the class. I made a 92. I made the highest grade in the class and failed the class.
It kind of reminds me of this scene. I don't know if you've seen the movie Happy Gilmore with
Nah.
Adam Sandler. Oh, man, that's a great.
Actually, no, I have seen that one.
You have seen that. Like, he was a natural golfer, and he one of the antagonist who's been playing golf his whole life. Adam Sandler like turns to him. He's like, you know what the sad thing is? You've been playing golf your whole life. And that just like reminded me that. He's like,
it was.
Yeah, you actually studied.
It was like a fluke thing, and then like
that's so funny.
I moved schools. I had to move schools, and because I failed biology, I had to take it again. I made a 92 again. So it was
on the last test or the whole
on the
class?
on the EOCT.
Yeah.
So I made a 92 again. Oh, the second time I passed it that time.
Fail.
I passed it that time, but it was like fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, but anyway, what was I talking about before that? How I became a writer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like Richard.
So so I was a trouble student, and so when you're a trouble student like that, they put you in what the school called vocational rehabilitation,
mm-hmm.
which is like, it's with the college prep and all that. It's like the sky is the limit. You can go be anything. And then in vocational rehabilitation, they're like, do you want to be a mechanic? You know what I mean? It's like, you want to be a mechanic, or there's like 6 things here, man. You got to pick one.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to be one of these things. And so, but the teacher there, his name was Richard, the vocational rehabilitation teacher. And I was in an English class, and it's actually really ironic when I think in hindsight. But I was in an English class, and we were supposed to write. I don't know if you know the story "The Monkey's Paw" by I think it's by a man named Abrams, but it's
I basically know the gist of it. I don't know like the
it's
specific.
Essentially it's a story
Careful
about
what you wish for,
choices and consequences.
Yeah.
And so like they get a monkey's paw that it'll grant them 3 wishes, and every wish they make has a they get what they want,
Yeah.
but at a terrifying cost.
Yeah.
Like they want 500 pounds. British story. They want 500 pounds, and their son dies at the mill, and the insurance is 500 pounds.
Yeah.
So it's a story of choice and consequence.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we read that story, and she was the teacher was like, well, now y'all have to write a story about it. And she was like, Will, because she wanted me out of the room, she was like, Will, why don't you go to Mr. Smith's office? And I was like, okay, sure. So I go in there, and Mr. Smith is like, he's like, what's your assignment? And I'm like, well, I have to write a story. And he's like, oh, that's great. You get to write a story. And I'm like, no, that's boring. Like, writing is boring. And that's so crazy to me thinking about it now. Because it's like, I've written 3 books. What the fuck? But anyway, but
every time you're writing, you're just like, man, I hate this.
This. I wrote a story. I wrote you had to write your own version of the Monkey's Paw.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote that. And I don't even remember what it was about. I think
See, I'm a smartass. I was a smartass growing up as a
Yeah.
student. What I would have done is like, instead of the monkey's paw, I would have changed the exact same story, but then changed it to like a cat's paw.
Yeah. Well, the thing was, I think it was like the perfect storm for me, because it was like when Richard brought it up to me, he was like, you can make this about anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And That I had never thought of.
Wait,
That
so
was the turning
who's
point.
Richard again? Is it like
It's he's a teacher. He's the
yeah?
vocational rehabilitation teacher.
Okay. So he wasn't the one that like hated you.
No,
that
no, no,
sent you
no.
away.
That was a different school.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have mentioned.
No, it's okay.
Anyway, yeah, but no, Richard, he told me, he was like, you can make this about anything, and I think that was the turning point for me, because it was like I didn't realize that there was an element of creativity to it. I thought, because when you are in school, a lot of the times when you write a story, you're given a prompt,
Mhm.
and you have to write about this, this, and this. And so having this assignment where it was open,
Mhm.
and so that really kind of opened it up for me. And so I started writing, and I wrote that, and I got encouragement, and I wrote of some other stuff, and that's just how it happened. But looking back, I think about how I always had stories in my head, and I think that was what made me realize that I was a writer. It's like I've always had these characters in my head and these stories and plot lines in my head. It's kind of funny. I have this joke where everyone has voices in their head, but writers are just the ones that take the time to get to know them.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, but that's how I started writing, and that story arose during that time.
And how old were you?
I was 17,
Okay.
and that story arose at that time. It's vastly different than what it is now.
Yeah.
But that was the first story that I really began, and then I wrote Heart of Hearts, and then I kind of had this realization that, oh shit, all these are tied together. So that one happened.
Does it like take a form of its own after a while, where like, because you said like you had an oh shit moment that they're all connected? Like, was that like basically by accident, or
yeah, in a way it was.
Okay.
It was in a way, but it was like so the thing about writing that's so interesting is you don't know it. You don't know that you know these things. And that's why when there's the age old question that writers hate, which is, where do you get your ideas? We don't hate it, but we don't hate it. It's difficult to answer because yes, that's it.
No, it's funny. I'm glad you said that, because that's literally me right now. Because like I said, like I write these questions mainly to keep myself on track and just so to not have dead air. But like we're going off from just our energy, like just getting to know each other, and I felt that like because I have no idea about writing. I don't know anything about like authors and stuff, but I genuinely feel that it's like, hey, so like like where do you get your ideas? And it's funny because like I'm not like I'm not gonna say like I'm not a creative guy. Like I'm creative in certain fields and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I'm a very logical dude. So like sometimes I'm like, oh well, sometimes I get inspiration from this and like starting a podcast. Like Joe Rogan was a huge inspiration, and it's also my personality. Like I love meeting new people and talking, and so yeah, like if somebody were to ask me, it's like, oh, where'd you get this idea? I could easily tell them. But for a writer, you're creating a universe from nothing, and that's like I get that. It's basically like a social club that I have no idea, but other writers probably know. It's like
there's actually a quote that well, there's two things. One is a quote that I really like. It is the tools of the I'm trying to remember this correctly. The tools of the writer are experience, observation, and imagination. And the quote goes on to say that you only need two. You don't need all three. You only need two to create a story. But I wrote a blog post once, and I called this concept the Eternal Cafe, because in a way you are not. This it sounds cliche, but it's really true. In a way, you're not meeting. In a way, you're not creating the character. In a way, you're meeting the character, and whether no matter you don't really know where they come from. But sometimes
now I'm gonna have to like cross out one of the questions I've written. This guy's giving me nothing.
What was it? Tell me the question.
We'll get into it. But I was like, Alfonso is one of my favorite characters. What went into making him? So it's like, oh no, you met him, and I'm like, well, there goes my shit. I'm just kidding.
Well, Alfonso, since you mentioned Alfonso is actually a a conglomeration of someone I know and someone else that I didn't really know him personally. So my father owns a construction business.
Mhm.
He did, and he had a one of his employees was a guy named Alfonso. We called him Fonz,
Mhm.
and he was like jacked.
Yeah.
I mean, like jacked. And I always thought that he would be like a really good boxer.
Mm.
And so like that body type, I was like, that's what sparked it. And that's what I
Yeah.
was gonna say, is like when it comes to creating a character.
Ah, you met him, kind
Well,
of.
no, I'll tell you. When it comes to creating a character, you can get a small thing. So like for that, it was this guy's body type. He's built. He looks like he'd be a boxer. And then in the back of your mind, that character is like, yo, that's me. It's a strange thing.
No, I can kind of feel that. That's a
Yeah.
good way. Yeah, no, because you paint him. He's a martial artist, and I like and like he also cooks in the cafe, and I love to cook, and I really related with him, and I loved him and Joseph's relationship where he kept calling him a dog. He's like, dude,
He's
I'm a
like, I'm a
cat.
cat,
Like that,
man.
I thought that was a like nice little. That's like that's what I'm saying. That's one of those things like that would be in an anime. Like I literally pictured like in a manga. I was like, this would happen. This
What's
legit would
funny
happen.
is Joseph. It's kind of funny because initially in the manga, Joseph was a dog.
Yeah,
And
you
so
read that.
I
In the
just kept it.
yeah.
I just kept it. I was like, and because Alfonso's supposed to be like, he's supposed to be like the hardy, like heart of gold idiot sort of guy. Not idiot, but he's like kind of meathead, you
Yeah.
know? And so, and then Joseph is kind of like the clever one. And so in my mind, I was like, Alfonso is just going to call him a dog.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's just the running joke.
I loved it. And also he's a martial artist and so like you wrote that one fight scene so well. With like I think it was him against Hound or Fox.
Oh, yeah, Fox, the one with the.
Yeah, Fox. That's what it was.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
with Fox, and how he pulled out like he combs his hair. All
Yeah.
the time. You've never described what the comb looked like, and what was so cool, like you wrote it so well. I really, honestly, like it's my favorite scene. And like Fox was like, "All right, we're gonna fight," and then he pulls out what looks like a switchblade. He's like, "You think a knife?" Like it's gonna protect you, and then it was one of those switchblade combs, and I thought this would happen. He would legit have that. And then he's like, I don't need a knife to take you. And he has that cocky attitude, but like it works for him. And I loved it. I loved this character so much. And I saw myself in him, and I'm like,
I really like Alfonso.
I loved him. I loved him.
Yeah.
I'm
He's
not even
fun
kidding.
to write.
Yeah, he was definitely cool. And then whenever he would fight somebody, I loved his flashback, his backstory. It's a classic Japanese revenge tale, and I love that. It reminded me of all the like I love martial art movies. It just reminded me of like you're your father's student at the same time, then somebody like takes away your father and you're like, I'm gonna get you.
Get
like,
that
or
guy.
if the person looks at you and is like, come back when you're older type
Yeah.
shit. And that was awesome. Like I loved it. I was so glad that you wrote that. I was like, he's my favorite.
It's interesting that you brought. I don't. The idea wasn't directly from it, like it wasn't like a direct copy, but like in my mind, when writing that scene, because like sometimes when you're writing the scene, you keep something in mind because you're like, I want this atmosphere.
Yeah.
Right. I want this.
Everything's grabbed from inspiration. That's
Yeah, it's like but it's like you think in your mind, you're like, I want this atmosphere, and so in my mind, I've seen Afro Samurai.
Nice.
When Afro's father is killed by Justice,
Mhm.
and he's like, "Come back if you want to duel a god." That was my.
I literally pictured that Quentin Tarantino, Kill Bill. All
Kill
that
Bill's
stuff.
another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I literally thought of like I've had so many movies that it just like rushed in my head, and I loved it. Like it's not like he's copying this. No, it was. I could see that. Like,
well, the thing about the revenge tale that's so great to write is it's a tale as old as time.
Yeah.
And it's so. The thing about the revenge tale is it's so human
Mm-hmm.
because everyone has had bad shit happen to them, and they're like, "Fuck that guy,"
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the thing I love about Alfonso's story is like you really get to play because revenge is one of the most as far as like a revenge arc, it has such a range of emotion,
Mm-hmm.
and there's so many different ways you can go about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Like.
you have revenge tales where they get revenge, you have revenge tales where they come to terms with it,
Mm-hmm.
and you have everything in between. And
Yeah.
so,
For me, I forgot who said it. But Revenge Tale is an investment. I mean, a lot of things are, but like that's that's the best way how I see is a Revenge Tale is an investment because uh, not only do you have to join the character in his or her journey, but they're gonna get sidetracked, meet other characters and all that stuff, and you kind of have to wonder, like, when their journey takes a like a side quest kind of thing, if it's worth following. Maybe that side quest overshadows the
oh
revenge,
yeah,
and so to me it's an investment. I've seen so many
I think that's a good
revenge.
way to put it.
Yeah, I've seen
Investment.
so many revenge movies where like the payoff wasn't that great, uh, but then there were ones where the payoff was great, and so to me, it's always an investment, and I love it. And you're right, you hit the nail on the head. It's the tale as old as time, and it's a human thing, very relatable. Like besides him being a martial artist, like I just related with him because, like you said, he was like the hardy dude and all that stuff, but
Yeah,
he had that killer switch. Like he was bigger than the rest. But I do like that one scene where you wrote where uh fuck, I forgot who he was talking to, but he was all like, oh man, I should have said it before the show. Okay, the main character, Philos or Philos?
Philos.
Philos. I knew
Philos.
it. I knew it. In my head, I
Yeah,
was like, it's Philos.
yeah.
So there was that one point where he was all like, "Oh," Alfonso said, "Oh, Philos, like I'm a strong dude, but I've never beaten
Oh
Philos,"
yeah,
and I just love that because Alfonso he knows where he stands, but uh, I just love characters when they're big and the natural reaction is like, "Oh man, he's probably like super violent," and he is, but he knows when to flip that switch. So when he's around his friends, he's like the love teddy
yeah.
bear
He's
kind of
teddy bear.
guy.
That's what I was gonna
Yeah,
say. Yeah,
and then when shit hits the fan, when like there's enemies, he's like, "All right, it's time to
yeah.
get
It's
dirty."
time to go. Yeah.
I love them. I think
In a
all the
way,
characters are great, but that he's my favorite. He's
in
my
a way,
favorite.
Alphon in the way it wasn't. I don't know. It might have been like subconsciously intentional for me, but it was the way it really kind of panned out. But Joseph and Alfonso are my gangsters. They're like the ones who they don't mind getting their hands dirty. Of course you have Yuri, who is like the young kid,
Yeah,
and he'll have his own whatever later on. But and then June, who is like June in a not June, Violet. Her name was June in the initial, but it's Violet in this one. Anyway, Violet's like she's the glue. She's
yeah.
like the glue
I
for
I,
all of
I
them.
pictured her as the motherly type.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
She's like I think Alfonso's older than her by about a year, but she's older than everyone else, and so she's kind of like the like you said, the mother. She's like the glue that holds them all together.
Mm-hmm.
And then Astrid is actually this is fun. So Astrid is described as, which you can show if you want to, her eyes on the back.
Yeah.
She's described as having white and black eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there is actually, if you read that one, there's an Easter egg in the new book.
Ooh.
If you, yeah. So
I'll
the
definitely
thing,
read
the
it.
whole thing with, so that's Angelica Demonica. And then the series I've mentioned, Heart of Hearts and the Phoenix Prince, that's called Sword Eye. But there's like an umbrella series for both of those, and the series is called A Tale of Gods and Men.
Mm-hmm.
And what it is it's just a long chronicle, and initially it was meant to follow the lineage of Vespera, who is the first Starborn. But what I'm thinking now is I'm thinking it may go beyond that. The whole thing. It may go beyond that. But anyway, so this book right here happens first 3,000 years before uh,
The Heart of
Heart
Heart.
of Hearts, and if you read, they're not spoilers, but if you read Heart of Hearts and Phoenix Prince, you're gonna get, it's like you kind of get lore and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like you're gonna, so like this story right here is going to tell about the angels, because if you read Heart of Hearts, there are no angels. And it's like, well, what happened? You know, what happened? Why are there no angels now? But what did you think of the angels, by the way? Because they're really like, when I first started this story, uh, the artist of the manga, she was like, "Are these like kind of like how biblical angels? Like, are they like holy beings?" And I was like, "They're a race. They're like a race of people in
Okay.
this." Yeah,
So I kind of pictured that, but then I still thought like I still thought like kind of like biblical angels, but I thought too like you created this world where you know not necessarily that heaven is bad and hell is good or anything like that, but where it's like the angels were still flawed, like they could still be
yeah,
flawed. So that's what I pictured, and then I thought of like maybe somebody got way more powerful and then absolute power corrupts absolutely. So that's what I kind of pictured, like
yeah,
there was a bad apple that just like took a wave of them. But then Sir Smith, like you could tell like, oh, out of the bad apples he can be good, like and they have a mutual like, hey, I want this, you want this, let's work
yeah,
together. So
yeah,
like I did like it, and what you did well is you created this mystery, because now you created a genuine, for me, a genuine like what happened,
yeah,
like okay,
yeah.
I gotta know more.
I'm
And
glad, because I wanted to do that.
yeah, like you generally did you created a good what happened, there's more to it, while still not like, oh, keep investing in it while like the story wasn't good. No, the story was good. Everybody's trying to rescue Violet and Astrid, and so you created a great journey while still having like this lore that's still coming to fruition.
Yeah, yeah,
So I really enjoyed that. um yeah, and then like no spoilers at the end, but then you introduce a character at the end, and now like I have like the biggest question. I'm like, how the hell are they gonna fight this guy? And I'm like, dude, it's over. Like you already gave him this description. I'm like, it's over. But no, it's great. And I will say this too. Star Breather was one of my favorite characters too.
yeah, yeah.
I because like he
He's
was,
my he's I don't know why, but in my mind, he's like my Deadpool in a way.
yeah.
Like he was like,
Is he like the medium for us, kind of the
yeah, he's
audience?
like he is a, what's the chaotic character. He
Mm.
is chaos in a way. Not like
Chaos
he is
neutral.
not actually yeah, he's like chaotic neutral.
Yeah.
Like he just does what he wants.
Yeah.
And I
Oh
wanted
man.
him to have this like,
Yeah, no, he's definitely cool, definitely mysterious, and like every single time he like, no lie, like I kind of got goosebumps because every single time he come I'm reading when he came in the scene, I kind of got chills. Because I'm just like, yo, what's gonna happen? What
yeah,
is
like
this
who
guy?
is this guy?
Yeah, and then I'm thinking, there's no way this guy is weak. This guy could probably like snap anybody with a flick of his finger, but like he's in control. Like what is he? You created this mystery,
Yeah.
but you knew he was powerful, but yet he never showed how powerful he is. But you did a great job in this ominous feeling, and I really did enjoy that. I really like Star, because I like, he's like you said, chaos neutral. Like he's not a villain, he's not a good guy. But if he's a good guy, he's a great ally. But if he's a bad guy, like you're done kind of feel. So I really did enjoy that. I was like, ooh, I don't know, and all that stuff. So
Yeah,
he was a great
he's meant
character.
to sort of be, um he is meant to be that. Kind of like this character that you're like, what is he gonna do?
Yeah.
You know? Which um I was gonna say, oh yeah, the angels. So
Hmm.
the thing with the angels was, uh which it's not a spoiler because it's throughout the entire book, but that the angels have enslaved like the whole other world, like the whole world
Yeah.
basically, except for this tiny part, which this story takes place in the outskirts, which is this
That was
tiny
gonna be
part.
my question. I'm glad you brought that up. So the outskirts are the only faction that's like not
Yeah,
enslaved.
yeah, they're the only faction that's like free,
Yeah,
but
but they know
free.
they know of the angels, and
Yeah, and
they're
they fear
stuff.
them. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's yeah, and so, but the idea came because initially that wasn't the way it was, and then I thought about it, and the angels have these given powers, which are, like you said, they're these magical abilities, and I thought this power dynamic is too vast, and so because of that, I was like, they're going to enslave everybody else. That was just the natural progression. It's
Hmm.
like, they're essentially. I mean, the angels are essentially like. I mean, I know I said they were a race, but they have like these extremely powerful magics,
Yeah.
which are even if you read Heart of Hearts, you learn about magic called it's the Word of Heart, and it's like everyone has their own Word of Heart, which a given power is like that on steroids, and you find out they're actually connected somehow.
Yeah.
That the Heart of Heart, I mean the Word of Heart and the given power are connected, but that's a
Nice,
secret.
nice. So like so walk me through the process, like, because you mentioned you started this what in 2015, and it's completely different, not completely, I guess, like you changed certain things. So what was the process from the first one, and what made you go like, let me go back and like change a couple things?
It was interesting because it was mainly just it kind of came from the freedom that I could do that
Hmm.
because the manga happened and it didn't really go well. It had one volume, which the world will never see, and it still sits on my Dropbox.
Nice.
It's in my Dropbox somewhere. Maybe one day the world will see it. Not today.
When it gets more popular, you should definitely release it and be
Yeah,
like, hey, here's
I
like
also might
the
release it
blueprint.
and just so Kuru can be like, I'll be like, hate your art, hate it now. But anyway, yeah, no, when I did the manga and then it didn't do well, and so a few years go by. I mean, 2015, I think the manga ended in 2016 or 17, and then so fast forward 3 years to 2020. No, yeah, 2021, and I was like, well, I've written a book, so I know I can write a book. That was the thing with Heart of Hearts was like I can do this, and it was just the whole thing with Heart of Hearts was like I had written a little bit on my computer, and I thought the only thing stopping me from finishing this is just me.
Yeah.
And so I'm a very organized guy. So I was like, I'm gonna make a schedule. I'm gonna do this, 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 this.
What was your schedule?
My schedule was 1,000 words a day,
Oh
three
wow.
3 days a week. That was my schedule for the first book, and now it's crazy. It's I have multiple books I'm writing.
Do you ever get a writer's block?
Yes, we all do. I'll tell you what I do, and then I'll come back to that. But I'll tell you what I do when I get writer's block. I read. That's
Mm,
that's the way out of it is reading, in my opinion.
yeah.
People
Reading
say,
what? Like just anything?
yeah, read a novel.
Yeah.
Just read something, because I'll get back to that, I
Yeah.
promise. But I'm about to segue. So I mentioned Joseph Campbell,
Hmm.
and he was a very big influence. Like recently, I've been delving in because I've gone from I've kind of like the meme where it's like the tip of the iceberg and then like underneath it.
Yeah.
So like the tip of the iceberg for me was writing a book,
Hmm.
and then as I went, I was like, I got to go deeper. I'm the kind of guy. I'm a writer, but I have the heart of a scholar in a way. Like I want to understand things deeply. Is how I am. I'm the dude where it's like if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna go all in.
No, I'm the same way. I
Yeah,
I I do have an obsessive personality. When I got in, uh, I'm not tech savvy, but I was doing hella research before starting a
oh
podcast, how
yeah,
to edit and all that stuff. I dive deep. When I get into something, I dive deep
yeah.
into it. I want to know everything.
I'm the dude like I want to understand things like on a fundamental level. I feel like once you understand something simply,
Hmm.
you understand it deeply. Like once you can break something down to a simple, like when I was writing a what was the pod? It wasn't a pod. What was the blog post called? I can't remember what it was called. I'll put it in the link. If you,
Yeah.
I have links for you to put in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so mentioned language, and that the main purpose for language is communication. Uh, the thing about that, it goes back to the writing rules. Everybody, oh, do this, do that, do this. Well, no, stop that. Like writing is about, language is about communication,
Mm-hmm.
and all a book is, and this sounds really simple, but all a book is a combination of words that, when placed in a certain order, convey an idea. That's all it is. And you can even, so like I've started delving deeper into like linguistics because I wanted to understand like what is language, and language is an invention. That's the fucking weird thing.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't always here.
Yeah.
Language was an invention, and you want to know some fucking wild shit?
Yes.
Language is a necessary invention, as in it will arise whether it needs to or not. I watched a documentary. It was about a guy who was he was in Vietnam, and he was in a POW camp for 10 fucking years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and when you were in a POW camp in Vietnam, you weren't a POW. You were treated as a war criminal because the U.S. never formally declared war on Vietnam.
Oh.
So you weren't, like, the Geneva Convention didn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
So like they would break this dude's back, and, like break his, and so like, but they weren't allowed to talk. And the thing that was interesting about that to me is he said that they created their own language. And so language, because humans will always need to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same, like it's almost the same across every language. Nothing is ever one for one, but humans will always need to do certain things. We will always need to tell stories. Stories are intrinsic to humans. We will always need to tell what happened in the past. We will always need to compare things. We will always need to convey consequences. If you do this, this will happen. Things like that. And so as I delved deeper and deeper, I realized that like these are just signs. Words are just signs. They're things that we've applied meaning to. And when you take these signs and you place them in a certain combination, they convey an idea. And that's all a novel is. That's all it is. And you have to think of language as a fluid thing.
Yeah.
So like when it goes back to these writing rules, and I said there's no formula, it's because writing is fluid. Art is about freedom, and it should always be about freedom. But anyway, what was I saying about the book?
Oh no, so I was saying the process from like how different it was from the manga. So like what?
Oh
like,
yeah,
what made you want to change?
That's why I
of,
was
like,
saying
continue?
freedom. It was just like I've written a book, do it again. That was the thing for me. When I wrote a book, I was like, I'm not a writer. I was like, I'm not a writer until I write one more.
Really?
Yeah, that's how I thought, because it was like,
that's pretty cool.
like when you're playing a video game and you do something really cool and you like get a trophy or something, and you're like, I could never do that again. Like, that's what it was. That's what it was like for me. Writing a book, it was like, I don't know if I can do that again. You think it's like a fluke thing.
Yeah.
And you spend 6 months to 8 months writing a book, and then you do another 2 months of editing, and then you finally publish it, and you're like, well, on to the next one. That's how I feel today, because the Phoenix Prince Sword Eye Book 2 came out, and it's like, it comes out, and you're like, hey, and then just the ambition in you're just like, oh, on to the next one.
No, like, I think that's a good attitude to have for you. I'm not a writer, and I don't ever see myself writing a book. But if I did, I feel like I would have that attitude where it's like, all right, one and done, I'm out. Like, here's my book. But with you, I actually have the same attitude when it comes to my podcast. So like, in no disrespect, like I'm having such a great time. I hope you are too. That like once we're done here, like I go ahead and edit it. I don't like cut anything out. I just like put the music and the intro and outro and all that jazz. And then once it's syncing and like downloading, in that process, I go ahead and hit up my next guest. Like,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
when can we schedule?
I totally see that.
Yeah, and then as soon as that happens, once it's done downloading, I go ahead and make a schedule, promote it on whatever, and then place it on YouTube. Once it's live, I go ahead and tell everybody about it, and then after that, I'm already planning my next guest. So I'm just moving on. So your episode could hit like my first million, whatever, and that's cool.
They'd
But
be
I'm
like, fuck this guy.
but I'm like I'm not thinking about it and stuff. I'm not thinking like, oh man, I need to recreate that. No, because each guest is different, each conversation is different. But at the same time, I'm always like, okay, I did one, I can do another. I did one, I
Yeah.
can do another. So now, when I first started, like I've gotten better, I've gotten faster. My first guest, like I was super trash at editing. It took me literally 2 weeks to edit a 2-hour interview.
Yeah.
Now it takes me a matter of hours instead of weeks, so I've gotten faster. But I never let it get to my head. I'm always like, all right, now that I'm faster, I just have to keep putting out a little bit more.
That's the that's really the artist mentality.
Yeah.
It's the what is the unattainable star. It's always going to be farther away.
Yeah.
And it's like all of my friends are like, why do you do this to yourself? And I'm just like, I would be miserable without it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, but it's the unattainable star. And that's just how, no matter if you're podcasting, writing, drawing, painting, singing, whatever, it's like, it's you have a drive to, I want to do this again, because you get a dopamine rush from it.
You do.
You're
Absolutely.
like, I want to do this again. So like,
it's a good stress. Like it can get stressful, but it's a good stress. It's like working out. It's like cooking food. Like, yeah, you have this delicious meal, but like the cooking process kind of does suck a little bit, even though some people do enjoy it. Like I do enjoy it, but eating a food is definitely better than cooking a food. You eat for only like a couple of minutes. You're cooking for like an hour or so, but it's a necessary stress. It's a good stress.
It is. It's healthy for you.
Yeah.
Well, it's healthy to have that ambition.
Mm-hmm.
Because like when I think about like not doing it, it's like, what, am I gonna just be wasting away on the couch? You know what I mean? It's like, you know, I want. It's a drive. Mm-hmm. It's a drive within you to do this, and like one thing I do is I self-impose deadlines, because it's the only way I can get things done. I say, okay, this has to be done by this time, this time, this time. Which, I'm a self-published author.
I do that too.
I have 3 books I'm writing this year that I want to,
for 2023.
Yeah, I want to aim for a publisher for it. But then I have volume 2 of Ang Demo. I call it Ang Demo for short. I have because Angelica Demonica is so long to say. I have volume 2 of Ang Demo coming out, and I'll have book 3 of Sword Eyes, the Eye of Revelation. This is not a spoiler. I can say all the titles, but I have 5 books planned for Sword Eye: The Heart of Hearts, The Phoenix Prince, The Eye of Revelation, The Starblood Key, and The Orphan God. And those are the 5 books. That's what's going to be. And then that one, I think Ang Demo is going to have 6 volumes. I think.
That was going to be like a question I was going to ask earlier. Do you already have the ending kind of planned?
Yes. Yeah, I've known.
That's cool.
I've known the ending for this one for a while.
Yeah, because I find it. Vince Gilligan. Have you seen Breaking Bad?
No, I haven't, but I know of it. I know enough about it.
Yeah, it's a great show. One of my favorite. Vince Gilligan already knew the ending, and there was this one interview that, like, again, I'm not a writer, but I could see this. I watch a lot of movies that some people don't know and there's not a knock. Some people don't know the ending. Like, they talk about like, oh, the stories, the character took a life of its own, and they're just like writing the story, and then whatever the ending is. But Vince Gilligan and other people, he's just the only one I can really remember. He already knew the ending as he started. And to me, I like that better, just because I think the story is so focused. It's like, okay, I have to make sure that they get to this ending. It doesn't feel rushed. Like, you already know. You're not trying to be like, oh, let me flush this thing out more, like, or whatever. I think it's super focused. And so that makes me happy. Like,
yeah, I actually really agree with that, because Well, like I said, I always have my reader in mind.
Hmm.
That's the thing. Like my whole thing as a storyteller is I want to tell stories that people will enjoy. That's it. I have no holy errant or anything like that. Like I just want you to enjoy my
Enjoy it.
stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like the thing with me is it's like I try to think of the ending uh um early on. Early on, like once I have once I have like because as a writer you're constantly working on it. Even when you're not writing, you're writing. You're constantly reworking things, you're thinking about characters. It just happens. It's like you're on autopilot a lot of the time. Like as a writer, you spend more time in those worlds than you do in the real world, really, because
Hmm.
you're constantly. It's like a in a way, it's like a sculpture. Like you're constantly like, okay, I need to do this over here and do this over there, and so when I go to write, I think, how can I end this that will not only give justice to the story, but will be um, entertaining, and that's not. I think maybe it could be misconstrued that I'm talking about happy endings. That it always has to be happy. But there was a there was a quote that I really like. It's a quote by Philip Pullman. I don't know if you know who that is. He wrote The Golden Compass
Oh, I
and
know.
His
I've
Dark
heard of that.
Materials.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has a quote where he says that even tragedy can be uplifting if it shows us why we're human.
Mm.
And I really believe that. I'm not saying, any of my stories have a tragic ending or they don't, but I'm saying that I think that you can have a tragic ending and make it. So I always think about like how can I end this? What kind of emotion do I want the readers to feel? Do I want them to be sad? Do I want them to be happy? You always think about that. But yeah, that's I was going to say something else, but I can't remember what it was. We were talking about um I lost it.
Was it when I was saying the
Oh, yeah.
process?
You were talking about the podcast. I
Yeah.
was going to tell you. I don't think Morgan mentioned this to you. I think it's cool that you have. Do you use Audacity?
No, I did for the first
Did you?
3 episodes
I
probably.
guess for
Now I use
for
Audition.
listeners, Audacity is a free
Free like audio recording thing.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like it's an audio software. You can
Hmm.
record music
Oh,
or
it's great.
yeah,
I just
anything. Yeah. I do my narrations with so one of the things I've always wanted to do is I've always wanted to narrate audiobooks.
nice.
That was something it's just something I've always wanted to do. I don't know what like I
You
said,
should.
I'm a
Yeah.
storyteller.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just be seen as a writer. Like I want to tell as many stories to as many people as I possibly can.
Yeah.
That's my goal in life.
Hmm.
I just want to tell stories. And so I just thought it was cool that you had. I was like, I wonder if he uses Audacity
I
because
did. Yeah, I did for a couple, and then since I'm in school, uh, my buddy was telling me like, oh, you can get like the uh crap, what's it called? The Adobe stuff for a discounted price. So like I have like Premiere Pro, Audition, and I only pay like $30 a month for all of it. I have Photoshop and all that. And I'm just like, all right, cool, yeah.
I tried a podcast like on my own.
Really?
Yeah,
Like by yourself or with guests?
yeah, just by myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't
I
know
tried it. I can't do it.
I didn't know I could do this. You probably believe it since I've been talking, but I talked to myself for an hour. I just sat in my sound booth.
I actually do that too. Like I like to have a good debate every now and then, and so like sometimes I'll like fresh up on a topic I care about, and I'll talk to myself and I'll debate myself, and yeah.
I was like for real just sitting down and I just had my cans on and I was at the mic and I was just talking and I looked and I was like, holy shit, I've been in here blabbing to myself like a psycho for fucking hour.
No,
Jesus
I think that's
Christ.
great because then like your fans will get a nice little like fly in the wall, nice insight in your brain, and then be like,
It's
oh, okay,
actually
cool.
like this wasn't scary. Like coming into because I can talk. So
Nice.
like coming into this, I was like, oh, I'm ready to do this.
All right.
Sitting down by yourself, just you and the mic, is terrifying.
Exactly. Thank you. Because I started by myself. I tried. I really did try. I might revisit it later. I have a plan, but doing it with a guest, this feels natural.
Yeah, it does.
Like when I first started, I had one of my friends she was really nervous, and then that's when I realized like my job is to make you comfortable, and I just kept saying like, listen, like my job is to make you forget about the microphone and the camera. This is just us hanging out,
Yeah.
talking. The only difference between a podcast and us hanging out is just it's being recorded. But that's
Everyone can see it.
yeah, and then eventually everyone can see it. But that's why my job is to make you forget about it. Have it, offer drinks. Let it be for like an hour. Give plenty of time to relax, and then like nothing feels rushed.
Yeah.
And so yeah, but like when you do it by yourself, I don't know. This is the fear of me. Like I'm an extrovert, and I'm not shy, but for some weird reason I like kind of get a little too tense when it's by myself and I'm recording myself, and then I'm just thinking, like, nobody's listening to me.
It's weird.
I don't know.
When you're by yourself, you feel more like people are watching you than you do when you're like
Yeah,
like you
I'm
said,
talking
you
to you.
forget.
I'm focused on you. I'm focused
Yeah,
on your
yeah.
story.
But when you're sitting there, just you and the mic, you're just like, so,
and I don't fear public
Amazon did this
speaking,
today.
too.
Yeah.
Like I can be in a stage full of thousands of people and I can speak. Like that
Oh, yeah.
doesn't bother me. But for some weird, when it's me by myself, I'm just like, like,
I
don't
get
know
that.
why.
See, I'm an introvert, but
Yeah.
like the thing with me is like I like one-on-one stuff.
Mhm.
I'm totally down for one-on-one stuff. Like I don't like going to like parties and shit.
Mhm.
But if I'm gonna talk to 100 people, I'm fine. Like, I guess I'm just a psychopath. Like if I'm gonna present a speech
Yeah.
to like 100 people, I'm totally cool.
Yeah, I can do that.
Like, but
That
if
doesn't
it's
scare
like, do you
me.
want to go to this party and be with other people? I'm like, no.
No.
I don't want to do that. Like, I would rather stay at
Yeah.
home.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. Like I think one of the things is that uh you and I we're having good banter back and forth, and we're borrowing each other's energy. But when I'm by myself, I just don't know. Like cuz I start catching the like some of the quirks that I do, and then I don't know, I start annoying myself and I'm like I can't do this.
You're like, fuck this
I
guy.
can't do this. So I don't know. I tried. I have it on my page. I will never delete it because I have this philosophy for anybody who I might have inspired is that one of the advice I would give to people doing not just anything creative, just in general, is just start. Like look forward to making a mistake, because when you make a mistake, you actually have something tangible you can fix.
Yes.
And everybody, especially like in podcasts or whatever, influencers or whatever, I think people kind of get turned off from the idea of starting because uh uh whoever you watch, YouTubers, podcasters, whatever, they have like this fancy set, they have like the best
And
tech.
everything seems perfect.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you're thinking, well, I can't afford that. Like, I have
I
all this
tell
crappy
you,
stuff. So,
um,
so like real quick, let me finish up like the part where people go like, oh, like I can't start. No one's gonna watch my stuff. Well, just start and learn, and then eventually things will change. And this is my own thought. Somebody gave me this advice, and it was very true. And then like eventually you hold yourself accountable. My first 3 or 4 episodes are complete trash. I can fully admit that. But now I'm better. Like
yeah.
I'm not expert, but I like to think I'm intermediate. This is episode 37. I will never delete 1 and 2 and 3 because now you've seen my progression.
Yeah, and you also kind of need to see where you came from. You know, it's interesting that you say that. Just do it, because that's what I tell people that they're like, I wish I could write a book. Like you can,
You can.
like do it. Just that's it. All you gotta do, like just because like a book is like like I said, a 6 to 8 month project. Well, for me it is. I'm a slow writer. Some people can
You
pop
say
them out.
slow writer. I think like, man, I think that's too quick. Like I'm like, if you left me in charge of writing, like in college, the most I've ever written, I think was like 7,000 words for a project. It took me a while. I did procrastinate, and that was horrible. I am a procrastinator, but I just think to myself like,
it
after that, I'm like, I can't.
it is different though, because when you're writing like a novel, like you're writing from here. You're not. It's like school. It's like you have to research. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're writing historical fiction, you have to research.
Hmm.
I, I know a lot of fantasy authors who research. I just make shit up. I do. I just make shit up as I go along. But anyway, like one of my favorite quotes is by Miyamoto Musashi. I don't know if you know who that is.
That sounds familiar.
Okay, he was a really cool guy. So Miyamoto Musashi was a samurai in the 17th century Japan, and if this makes me feel like my life is just nothing, because by age 28 he had won 60 one-on-one sword fights.
Damn.
By age 28. God damn it. Anyway, but anyway, so
I've won 0.
yeah,
I've attempted 0.
yeah, like you're just like, I didn't eat carbs today. Like, anyway,
I
but
woke up early today.
he in his later years, you know what's funny about? I give you this, and then I'll get to the quote. But he died of a stomach ulcer.
What a way to go.
Jesus Christ, man.
He should die in battle.
Yeah, like Jesus fuck. He died of like cancer or some shit. Anyway,
Cool.
so in his later years, he wrote a book called Gorin no Sho, which is translated the Book of Five Rings, and it's a manual on swordsmanship.
Wait, I do know this. Yeah,
yeah. It's a manual on swordsmanship, but a lot of businessmen use it.
Yeah.
What it is, the book itself is not actually like, it is a manual on swordsmanship, but the general theme of the book is it's a study on conflict and how to handle conflict. Anyway, one of my favorite quotes comes from that book, and it is he's talking about using the longsword with one hand, and he says it will be difficult at first, but everything is difficult at first. And I keep that as like a mantra in my head.
So true.
It's like
so true.
It's okay for it to be difficult.
Yes.
It's okay to suck at something.
People don't want to make a mistake. That's the thing. And it hurts their pride. And don't get me wrong, that hurts my pride still too. But like now, like it hurts for a second. I was talking about this on the guest before you, that like I fucked up on somebody's audio, and I felt so bad, and it was super embarrassing to message them and be like, man, I am so sorry. I'm still gonna air the episode, but like the audio is bad. But when that happened, I did mass research on Google, like why this happened, how can I prevent it, and all that stuff. And but now I don't make that mistake anymore, unless like the microphone's just like combust or something. But yeah, like you make a mistake, and then you fix it. When I first started with podcasting, it was so difficult to edit. Like I told you, like the first episode, it took me like 2 weeks to edit.
Oh yeah, I believe it too.
I sucked, and no lie, I'm not the type to give up, but I am the type to bitch a lot before like I improve. And I was like, I give up. But then I sat down and I was like, okay, you know what, screw it, let me just go ahead and air this episode. Then the second guest, I try to time myself. I'm a competitive dude. I try to time myself. I was like, all right, it cannot take me that long. Still took me long, but I saw some improvement. I just kept at it. Now I'm better. I'm still not expert level, but I'm better than I was. And it really does take time and patience. Everything is difficult. There are some gems where you see people who have natural talents for things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it does feel good, but man, now if gun to my head, if I had to choose, I want to suck at everything, because at least it decreases my chances of getting cocky at it.
Yeah, and also, well, like when I said I can see, I mean like I can see, because like I don't even know, like you're editing audio and video at the same time, right?
Yeah. Well, like yes and no. After we wrap, what it is that I go through visuals first, because audio takes like a minute to edit.
Yeah.
But visuals take just a couple of more times. Really, the only thing I do is camera 1, camera 2, camera 1, camera 2. I do need a third master camera, a master shot. But yeah, so like whenever you're speaking, I just have to hit a button and it shows you. Then when I'm speaking, it shows me.
Just put one right there, just down on the bird's eye view.
I do need a middle where it shows both of us at the same time, but like down the road.
You need to get what is it? The giant steel American flag that Joe Rogan has.
Yeah.
You need to get-
No, now he has that the sign with his name
Yeah.
or the podcast.
You ought to have that.
I
Just
gotta
Joe
have
Rogan.
that. Down the road.
But
I have thoughts.
anyway, what I was gonna say is like, yeah, I totally agree with you. And like the thing is like there are people who are just one-off good at stuff,
Hmm.
but even then, like if you don't persevere, that's talent can go to waste.
Yeah,
Talent can 100% go to waste.
100%.
And
Everything's perishable.
yeah, you can be talented and just never improve from that point. It's a landing point,
Yeah.
is what it is. And like so, like you saying, like having pride, like I believe that sucking and getting better is more prideful than just doing it if I did it right. You
Yeah,
know, like
yeah.
like being
100.
able to look back and say, I fucking sucked at this. But that's how I think about like I look back at some of my like old writing. Like I found I was cleaning through my Dropbox and I found like the first novel I ever read. I mean ever wrote. And like I read that thing and I was like, holy fuck. Like this is horrendous. And the reason I read it, I was like, maybe there's something salvageable. There wasn't. like it was so bad. Like my grammar was terrible. And but looking back on that and then looking at like the stuff I do now, and not saying I'm the best now, 'cause I'm not.
You've improved.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Like looking at it now, it's like I see where I've come from.
Mm-hmm.
And then like what we were saying about like you're always wanting to do the next thing. It is an unattainable star. Perfection is an unattainable star. And that's a good thing. You know, you're always going to be able to get better. That's what makes it so interesting.
Yeah.
If you like got to the top and the fuck best,
Yeah.
like, you know, it's like it's not interesting anymore.
To me, I would add that it's the most stressful thing because if you started off as the best, like a one-off thing, now you have to train even harder to maintain that. Somebody's always going to try to. I think of it like fighting. Like now somebody's after you, so you have to train even harder to maintain that spot. But somebody who's progressed and all that stuff, you know, not saying that it's easy, but they have moments of victories. Like I sucked, now I gotten better, I won. I sucked, I gotten better, therefore I won. If you kept winning, you know, and you've never lost, to me now winning became stale at some point because now you're just like, crap, I haven't lost yet. And then when you get that first loss, oh, it probably feels fucking
it's
horrible.
interesting that you used fighting too. Like I when I was a teenager, I took Taekwondo for about 6 years, and then that 6 year I taught it.
Nice.
And but like one of the things
I trained in a little bit in that.
One of the things that is true about losing, especially in fighting, which Taekwondo sparring is a bit different. It's like boxing with your feet. A lot of judges don't even count punches. But anyway, one thing you learn is like when you lose, you go back and you're like, how the fuck did I lose? And you learn. If you just win all the time, there is a possibility that you're not actually explicitly like conscious of what you're doing to win. So like if you lose really badly, you're like, what did I do? The thing about failure is it makes I'm trying to think of how to put this. The thing about failure is it's tangible. You can look back on failure and be like, oh, I should have done, like, I'll give you, since I was talking about linguistics, I wanted to learn another language. I was like, I kind of got to this point because I started reading like a bunch of linguistics books. And I was like, you know what? I want to just, as a hobby, for fun, learn a bunch of languages just over my life. I was like, wouldn't it be cool to be like 70 and know like 5 languages?
Right.
Wouldn't that be cool as shit? Be completely useless almost, but like, it would still be cool. And so I was like looking, I was like, I always wanted to learn Japanese. I was like, that just sounds cool. And it's so different from English. I was like, it would be a challenge. And I'm the dude, I want the challenge.
Yep.
But like when I think about it, thinking about failure, like I can't speak Japanese. I can type it. I'm what you call, I'm probably N4, which N4 is like beginner, and then it goes to N1, which is like native level. If you were born raised in Japan, that's N1. So I'm N4, which is like I'm baby level.
Mm-hmm.
I can speak like a child. But I'm at a point to where, like, with my native Japanese friends, I can hold a conversation. But like what I'm saying is, when I think about failure, I think about linguistics, because say I type something
Mm-hmm.
and I think, I don't know if that's right. I don't know if I'm using this particle right, or I don't know if this word is right. And I'll go and, like, sometimes afterwards I'll translate it, and I look at it and I'm like, I reverse engineer it. I'm like, oh, I did this wrong. But no, but seeing that failure, I see it and I'm like, I know what I should do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how I think of it. That's how I think of, like, that's why I think failure is good, is because oftentimes it's obvious what you did wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where the growth comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't even know how we got off on
No,
that. I
I
have
love it. I love
wanted to
it.
tell you, though, for the past, like, forever.
What's up?
I love that you have the Wii U version of Twilight Princess unopened. I have that too somewhere.
Well, it is open.
Is it?
It is, because like you physically have to get the game out. So, but I have the amiibo in there, so I'm like, nah.
When
Huge nerd.
When Morgan told me, she was like, "Oh, no, DJ wants you on his podcast." I'm like, because Morgan knows, like, such a vast array of people. I'm like,
Mhm.
let's see who this guy is. As soon as I pulled up your podcast and I saw all of that shit behind you, I was like, yeah, this guy's,
Yeah.
we're gonna jam.
Yeah.
So it was like,
it's so funny because somebody way before I ever started my podcast, um like in my room, it's like not this bookshelf, but I have another bookshelf, and it has a bunch of nerdy things, like these things and others. And I was hanging out, like I said, I'm an extrovert, I'm a very social dude. And like I worked at this one restaurant, and one day I just decided like to like host a little gathering at my house and all that stuff. So did, and then one of my coworkers, she was like, oh, like, where's your room? I want to see your room and stuff. And I was like, you got it. And so
oh no,
just showed it to my room, and then she saw the nerdy stuff, and she was like, wow, like I did not know you were a nerd. And I was like, yeah, I am. And
she was like, wow, never talk to me again.
Yeah. And then she was like, you don't come across as a nerd. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then she was, I always remember this. She was like, you're like a down to earth nerd. And I was like,
you're like normal.
All right, cool. Like, I guess, but
she was like, you're normal.
Yeah, exactly. And I did love it. She was a cool person, but she still is.
That,
I doubt she watches.
I love that so much.
But yeah, no, it's funny because like this is not just for the set. I mean, I'm glad. My favorite thing, my good best friend, he made that Batman. Huge Batman fan.
Oh, he made that.
He made that.
Oh
like,
shit, that's what's up. I was wondering about that.
And that's like my prized possession. And yeah, like most people know me when getting to know me, that I'm a huge Batman fan. And superheroes have now become, especially Batman being like super known and stuff like that, it's like if you go like, oh, if you were just a Batman fan, it's like, oh, I'm a nerd, I'm a Batman fan. Some people be like, that's like basic nerd level. But then I have like, yeah, gamer, anime and stuff like that, and it's just like,
I'm digging all of the dude, you got Glover. Holy shit. That's a blast from the past.
Yeah, that's my roommates, but yeah.
Dude, I remember playing that game.
You play games?
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, I remember playing that game a long time ago and like knowing all the cheat codes. And like they had one where you could like jump, and you would just like jump the whole level. You'd go to the end. Like, Jesus, man. Yeah, no, I like the one, I like stuff like, I'm a big RPG guy.
Same.
So I like the Tales of games. I don't know. Have you ever played Tales of Symphonia?
No, but it's kind of on my list.
Yeah,
like,
that game. That is.
I grew up with PS1 JRPGs. Those were my jam.
Yeah.
And then I like modern RPGs weren't doing it for me. But like started like with my Switch. I started slowly getting back into it.
Oh yeah, dude,
And all
my
that stuff.
Switch is my JRPG machine.
Oh yeah.
Dude, there's so much.
Chrono Cross just came out with a remaster. I don't know if you know
Yeah, I
that.
haven't got it,
Oh, I got it. That's
dude.
my. I'm still playing it right
But yeah, Tales of Symphonia is coming out for the. That game was the game that gave me the inspiration I have for Angels.
Nice.
That was the game.
Nice.
Did you ever play? Did you ever have a GameCube?
I didn't have one, but I did play it. It wasn't until the Wii, because the Wii you could put the GameCube.
There was this game for GameCube called Batten Kaitos, Eternal Wings and the Lost Ocean. And that game, it was so nobody knows what I'm talking about. Like I feel almost like it was Sinbad. Like nobody knows what the fuck I'm talking about. But it was a game where it was an RPG, but it was like a card-based RPG, but it was like poker.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it was
poker.
like you had like different cards, and like the cards had numbers on them, and so you could like line up like straights, full house, all that. It was cool, man.
That's my jam. It's poker. Yeah.
But I was gonna say another one. Oh yeah, my thing right now, which when I didn't get a PS2 till like late in the game.
Oh really?
So I was like a Nintendo kid, right?
I'm a Nintendo PlayStation guy.
Yeah, I was a Nintendo kid, and then I was about 14 when I got a PS2, and I remember the first game I played for PS2, because I got it, and I got like the system, and I didn't have any games for it.
Oh,
So I like go up the road to my buddy's house, and I'm like, "Yo, dude, you got any games that you just don't like that you could give?" He's like, "Yeah, here's some games I don't like." And he gave me God Hand. Do you remember that game?
I know of it. I've never played it.
He gave me God Hand and Devil May Cry.
Devil May Cry.
Dude,
that's my jam.
Devil May Cry is my shit.
Yep.
Dude, I played the fuck out of that game. And then Devil May Cry 3 came out.
Oh, that's one of the best ones.
Right now.
That's the first Devil May Cry. Oh no, Devil May Cry 2, but Devil May Cry 3 was the first one I actually beat.
Yeah.
Devil May Cry 2 I played, but I never finished.
I've been playing 5 lately.
Oh
Devil
man,
May Cry 5.
Such a great game.
Dude,
I have it.
I finally
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Is it for real?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Oh, I see it, man. Yeah. Dude, I love that game so much. But I finally the trophy, I'll Be Damned, it's where you beat Urizen in the prologue.
Oh yeah.
I finally got that shit.
Nice.
Dude, I didn't know you could do it.
My roommate told me you could, and I was like, okay, is that a new game plus? He was like, no, you could be able to do it in the first.
You
I was
beat
like,
the game.
I was like, that's not gonna happen.
Like, that's the game.
Yeah.
It literally like goes to the credits.
Does it really?
Yeah, it's the ending.
That's so dope. Oh man,
it's a trophy. It's a golden trophy. But like when you beat him, because it's just like you hack the crystal until it breaks, and then you just like you fight him in the later in the game.
That's so cool.
And you can beat him, and it goes to the credits.
That's so cool. Like you don't even fight Virgil?
No, it just goes to the credits. It's a secret ending.
That's so cool.
You win, and the thing that's so funny, because I didn't do it like the first time, but I know there's probably some like crazy, because some people are like crazy good at that game.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably some dude out there that like thought you were supposed to win and did, and was like, "That's the game."
I used to be really good at 3 and 4, and then 5. Like I got good close to the end. Like I started getting my skills back, but I haven't touched it since it came out. But yeah, like I used to be crazy good in 3, where Triple S was like nothing to me.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
3. The thing I love about 3 is it was like, because like back in those days, games were just unrelenting.
Mm-hmm.
Like games just were hard back then,
especially Japanese games, man.
Yeah.
They were so unforgiving.
Like Devil May Cry 3 on Dante Must Die mode is like, bye.
Yeah.
like
I never played those games. Like, was it on Dante Must Die or Heaven and Hell, where you got hit once and you're dead?
In 3 it's Heaven and Hell, where it's like you hit them one time, they die, they hit you one time.
Yeah.
Devil May Cry 5 has Hell and Hell mode, where you die with one hit, but
The enemies though.
The enemies are on Son of Sparta difficulty.
Yeah. So like in Devil May Cry 3, I like triple S was nothing to me, but I would still get kind of hit. I didn't make it that far, and I was just like, man, these Japanese games are like just too relentless. So I've always played those games like on
Dude,
normal.
it's crazy. I'm replaying DMC3 and I'm on very hard mode and I'm just like, oh, I'm dying.
Yeah.
Once I finally got. I always have like a custom configuration for jump canceling. So like I have my jump on the trigger.
Okay.
And so like yeah, I do that. I can jump cancel. But dude, that game that was back when games were like they were just like, oh, fuck them kids.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
no, with Devil May Cry 3, the Cerberus nunchucks, I hated that weapon so much. And I was just like, man, this one sucked. But then when I've gotten better at it, when I started watching YouTube videos of how to get like really good, that's like one of the best weapons to like keep yourself up in the air for a long time. And I was like, oh, okay, there we go. And then the Beowulf, like the punching and kicking, that was like one of my favorites. But that one like was not that great to juggle. And I was like, oh, okay.
I tell you, my favorite thing I didn't know, like, is so in that game there is this like Leviathan thing that floats in the sky.
Yeah.
And
where you have to go inside it.
Yeah, you're like inside it and you have to like fight its heart or whatever. And I didn't like the way the fight is there's two lungs and a heart in the middle. And you have to beat the lungs. You have to like beat the lungs and then the heart opens and then it'll close and then you beat the hearts again. I mean beat the lungs again. And so like I was like, because enemies spawn just infinitely in that match. And I was just like, how do I do this? And then I realized that I could just switch cancel. So all you do is you just jump and then you just keep switching weapons and keep pressing the style button and you just stay midair. And when the heart opens up, there's like a little like node that you're supposed to hit, but the hitbox is actually the entire heart. So you can be like up in the air. Just yeah, nice. I didn't know that. Then I finally beat that, and I was like, "Thank God, Jesus Christ!" Yeah.
Oh man. So what about anime? Like because I see in your book you were inspired by like One Piece as one of them.
I am actually not an anime guy. I'm a manga guy.
Manga, okay.
I'm a manga guy. I am manga trash, is what I am.
Don't say trash.
But One Piece is like so. One Piece is the greatest story ever told, in my opinion.
God, that's an investment, man. I can't do it.
I'll give you this.
If it's finished, I'll watch.
I've been reading One Piece since I was 11.
Dang, so, and you're still continuing.
Yeah.
Like,
so
are you caught up?
Yeah, that's the only thing I hate about One Piece is like it's so good, but you're asking like weeks of someone's time.
Yeah,
and so you can't just be like, hey man, you should watch One Piece. It's like I like my brother. I kept trying to get him to watch it, and he never did. He was like, I did the math, man. I was like, what do you mean?
I did.
He was like, it would, and this was like a few years ago. He was like, you would have to watch it for 11 days straight without sleeping to finish the whole thing. I was like, why would you do that?
Yeah. No, I did the math too, except like counting, like just fitting in my schedule. I was like, okay, if I watched like 10 episodes a day at this time and all that stuff for this much, it will take me like 5 months to get caught up.
So long.
And I was just like, dude, that's a job right there. That's a project. If I got paid, I would probably do it. I was just like, there's no way.
So
if I was a trust fund baby, I might do it. But
trust fund yeah, no, it is such a good story. Like
I don't doubt it. I see clips and stuff, like really cool fight scenes, and every now and then I'm just like, man, I wish I could.
Ichiro Oda is like one of the, because like I said, like when you read as a writer, you read like a writer. You like pay attention to stuff.
Yeah.
And, like what I mean is like when you're reading, you pay attention to the things that that writer does.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this writer is doing this. And then when you get to like the payoff of that plot point, you're like, oh, I see what they did. and you keep that in your mind. Oda is one of those writers who, when something happens, you're like, bruh. You're just like, bruh. Like, it's just he's like a master, is what he's just a master. Do you know that One Piece is the okay, so a couple things. It holds the Guinness Book World Record for most books in a single series.
Mhm.
And also it's I don't know if this is true still. It's the 12th highest grossing book series like
Of,
ever.
of all time.
Yeah.
Damn.
So number 11 is um Harry Potter. What's her name?
J.K. Rowling.
J.K. Rowling. Yeah. So that's number 11. Number 1. Do you know who number 1 is?
I kind of want to say the Bible.
Nah, not the Bible. It's William Shakespeare. That dude is like the number 1. Like that dude is, he's rolling in it. He's rolling.
And he's dead.
Yeah, he's dead as fuck, man. He's real dead.
Yeah, exactly. And he's still breaking records. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It's like, yeah, but I mean, I can see that because Shakespeare, like most like schools.
Yeah,
and,
I had a college professor, my English professor. He was like saying some shit about, I don't know if it's true or not, but he was like, "Oh, William Shakespeare, he plagiarized a bunch of shit." I'm like, "All right, cool."
Yeah,
his name is still popular, so
that's what they say. Well,
I don't know. I'm not gonna. I don't care.
The thing is about that is there may be truth to that because there were no copyright laws back then.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
You know,
I just don't care.
I'll give you. Yeah, no, I don't either. I'll give you something interesting. Don Quixote. Do you know what that one is?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so Don Quixote is considered the first modern novel. It was by Miguel de Cervantes, and it was about it was written like in the 1500s, but it was about an old man who was delusional and thought he was a knight, and it's a comedy. He goes off on all these adventures, and he'll see prostitutes, and he's like, fair maidens, like, yeah. But anyway, so he wrote the first book, and then someone else wrote the second book. And so there were no copyright laws, so they could just do that.
Yeah.
And so he had to write a second book, like that was like, yo, this is my. But so yeah, I don't care either. But that's truly possible.
Yeah, like I'm not.
A lot of shit was probably copyrighted.
Yeah, like I don't doubt that at all. It's just like.
It's like, what are you doing? Are you trying to like?
I'm like, okay, say that's true and all that stuff. Like, are you going to fight for like, all right, I'm going to change the modern game?
Yeah, yeah. It's like, are you trying to diss an old dead guy?
Yeah, like instead of William Shakespeare, it's like, all right, so we're gonna read Romeo and Juliet by John Smith, and it's like,
yeah, it doesn't fucking matter. We don't want to read it.
Yeah, like who's a William Shakespeare fan? Like, listen, I'm a theater kid. Like, I love Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Like as an actor, like I did a little bit of acting. I'm not loyal to the guy. I'm not gonna you badmouth Shakespeare. I'm not gonna be like, well, how dare you? Like,
how dare you?
How dare you?
Yeah.
I bite my thumb at thee. Like,
yeah,
I
it's
just
like, come on, man.
Yeah,
that's like, yeah.
I sat there in class, and when the professor said that, I was just like, I didn't do it, but it mentally, I was like,
yeah, like,
does anybody care?
Yeah,
like,
who cares?
Why are you throwing shade?
Yeah,
like,
why are you throwing shade? Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Why are you throwing shade at this dude? He's like been dead since 1600s. Yeah. Another one. Yeah, I had a college professor who he's an English professor. He was like, yeah, we were talking about Shakespeare. He was like, y'all know Shakespeare's just a bunch of dick jokes, right?
All right, my kind of guy.
Yeah.
All right, I'll grab a beer.
We were like, okay. He was like, yeah. He was like, it's just a bunch of dick jokes.
Yeah.
He was like, everybody acts like it's so holy. He's like, just a bunch of dick jokes.
Yeah, like I do remember something like that. Like it had a lot of dirty jokes and all that stuff. And when I realized that, I remember making a joke in class, going like, I literally said that. I was like, "Oh, my kind of guy, somebody who I would grab a beer with." All right, cool. Like, you think I'm more sophisticated?
Yeah, but like the thing, I think the thing that people don't realize is that when Shakespeare wrote that stuff, it was to entertain people. It wasn't like, I'm going to write something that will be,
super profound.
Yeah, yeah. It was like, come on, man. He's just writing shit.
Yeah. He wrote tragedies, and he did have comedies, and like comedies, put some dick jokes, some fart jokes, I'm gonna laugh.
Well, dude, it's like when I think of like my this is kind of funny because I'm about to compare Step Brothers to Shakespeare.
Do it. Do
So,
it.
but
I'm
like
here
if you
for
think
it.
about it, like the movie Step Brothers, that is it. Okay. All aside, Step Brothers is the goal. It's like it's quintessential comedy movie. Will Ferrell and John C. Riley are just the perfect. They're the dream
They
team.
are.
They both like John C. Riley looks like just like just looking at him, you laugh. You're like, bruh. I wish they were in more things together.
I know,
do. I
right?
really do. They're brilliant together.
Dude, it's so funny. I like this is such a dumb moment, but like I didn't know he was in Talladega Nights. Like I just that handlebar mustache,
Yeah, I
like,
know.
and then
Like, who's that guy?
I literally said like, oh man, they need to be in more movies together. And then I had a buddy go like, well, he was in Talladega Nights, and that was first before Step Brothers. I was like, he was in that. We watched the movie, and I was like, holy shit, I did not know that. That was some good
dude.
makeup.
I Step Brothers is.
Oh, Step Brothers is great.
God, it's just a golden movie. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with it.
I will say I mentioned Happy Gilmore. Happy Gilmore, honestly, is like one of my favorite comedies.
What's the one? It's Adam Sandler. Like, he has to go back to school. What's that one?
Billy Madison.
Yeah. He has to like. He's like in. It's like him, and he's like in there with like
because he
third
had to
graders.
like take over his dad's company, but
he never went to school or something.
Yeah, like he had to at least graduate high school, get a high school diploma.
He like falls in love with the third grade teacher.
That one was like one of his dumb movies, but it was still funny. Like it was still great.
That's kind of dumb, man. I love it. I love shit like that.
As I've gotten older, it's so funny. Like I'm a movie buff. Like I love movies. But I will say I do hate in a way Oscar movies just because they're super pretentious. They're and movie buff peoples and people who go to school for film, and this is a knock to all y'all, I don't care. That they're just like, oh well, I went to film school, like I know more about it than you. And so it's like, all right, first off, it's subjective, who cares? There are there are formulas, there are rules you got to follow, but at the end of the day, like art's art, and it's supposed to be entertaining no matter what. It's supposed to be, even if it's like, oh, I have a message, it's supposed to be entertaining. And I hate some of these Oscar movies. They're super pretentious, they're super like preachy, and the more I see that, the more I love dumb comedies. The more like, man, you introduce dick jokes, fart jokes, I'm gonna laugh and be like, oh my god, this is so stupid. And then people go like, I like smart comedies. I'm like, no, I just want to relax. The world's stressful as it is. I'm already stressed. I just want to laugh,
dude. That I like how you put that, because that was how I was trying to say it about the writing rules.
Yeah.
Because a lot.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when you said
that.
Yeah, like, there's a blueprint.
Like, they always say, like, you have, like, one of my friends on Twitter was talking about a writing teacher who is saying that being a pantser or discovery writer or whatever you want to call it, someone that doesn't outline, you shouldn't do that. And it's like, there's no formula. Everybody works differently. No two processes are the same. And so you can't say this equals good novel. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You have to find because you have a voice. You're gonna tell it the way you tell it, and you should tell it the way you tell it. You shouldn't try and tell it the way anyone else tells it. And you can learn from things. And when you're telling a story, I think of it like a game of chess. And I'll give you this analogy. So when I write a story, I have my characters on the board. And so on my side of the board, I have my characters. On the opposite side of the board, I have the conflicts, the things that need to happen. And a lot of the time, and the board is the plot. A lot of the times, it's a game of strategy. That's how I think of writing. I think of it as a game of strategy, where I am moving characters across the board to overcome the conflicts, and checkmate would be the end of the story, the resolution. And so I think when people say, oh, you have to do this, and this, it breaks the freedom of the strategy. And so I have a philosophy, and you can call it a writing rule if you want, but I call it a philosophy. And I believe that art, especially the written word, is a fluid art
Mm-hmm.
in that it is. You can be experimental. You should be experimental.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't just. You shouldn't just. I don't know. Keep the status quo on stuff. You should be
Yeah.
experimental. Try different things. That's what makes it. That's what makes it. Interesting,
Yeah.
engaging. Is to to when you write a story like the story I recently narrated. I wrote it. It's called Adam and Eve and the Wind and the Trees.
Mm-hmm.
It's written in present tense, and I normally never write in present tense, but I thought, I want to do something in present tense. I want to experiment a little bit. Not only does that make it fun for me, but if I'm having fun, you're probably going to have fun. But what I was saying was there's no, what was I saying? There's no formula to it.
Yeah.
You should be experimental. You should be free. Uh, and the strategy of it, when you put things in a box, you're breaking the strategy of it.
Yeah.
You should be open to trying things.
Yeah. So I love that you brought up chess because it's I never realized it till really just now, but like I kept before the chess analogy, I kept saying that every creative thing, like especially when like it's subjective, like art, does have a skeleton and like it does have a base, but after that, that's where you can have fun with it.
Yes.
But chess, I think, and I'm thankful that you brought that up. I think chess is even better because chess, there are millions of moves you can make. Some are better than others, but chess has rules. But other than that, you do whatever you want. Like,
Yeah.
and after that, like when you make a mistake, you don't know it's a mistake until you make it, and then, but once a mistake is made,
I would say about chess has rules, but I think in my analogy, it has established guidelines.
yes,
And so I think what you're doing is I guess I should define what a writing rule is. A writing rule is when someone says, never do this
mm-hmm.
or always do this. That's a writing rule.
Yeah.
Anything beyond saying, because when you're writing a story, there are going to be things.
Would you say like writing rules in a way? Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're
Writing
good.
rules mainly like grammar wise, because that's what I picture as not a
Not
non-writer.
necessarily grammar, because grammar is a well, even this is a half truth, but grammar is an established construct
Mm-hmm.
that a language uh, goes by, is what it is, and every language has its own grammatical construct. Even that is a half truth, because like in poetry, a lot of the times in poetry, we break grammatical paradigms. But when I talk about a writing rule, I'm talking about when people say always do this or never do this. Uh, and I'm trying to think. I keep going blank. Uh, what I was gonna say was you.
Like with chess.
Yeah, like with chess, there are established guidelines.
Yeah.
But there's not a surefire way. There's no surefire way in chess.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And stories. Oh, that was what I was saying. In stories, there are sometimes, like in chess, better moves to make than like if you get to a point in a story, like when you get to a point in a story and you come to a crossroads and you think, well, this way would be really interesting, and this way would. Sometimes you even get to a point and you're like, I want to go this way, but it's not as interesting as this way. And you have to make the sacrifice and say, you know what? Let's go this way. Let's go down. Going back to Philip Pullman, he describes a story as a path through the woods, and he was saying that the entirety of the story is the woods, but you only take a certain path through that story.
Yeah.
And so I guess my whole thing against the writing rules is I don't think there's a formula. I don't think you should be able to say always do this or never do that.
Yeah.
Even because language is a fluid thing, and my one philosophy is all things are permissible when appropriate. So when you're writing a story, you think, is this truly appropriate? And if it is, like the author of I don't know if you knew these books when you were growing up, but A Series of Unfortunate Events.
Yeah.
Lemony Snicket, which is not his real name, by the way. That's a pen name. I didn't know that.
Not surprised.
I was like, bro, this guy has the coolest fucking name. But like, that's not really his
real
name.
quick. Like, I was an idiot. I thought rappers' names were their real names and stuff.
You
and
thought
that,
his name was Lil Wayne?
Yeah.
Like that's his name?
Oh, not Lil Wayne, because
he came out of his mom and she was like, bro, this is Lil Wayne.
Usher, Ludacris.
Oh yeah, okay. I see.
I legit thought that was their first name, and their last name is something, but they go by their first name. So I legit his name was Usher something. I thought somebody's name was Lil Bow Wow, Lil Romeo. I legit thought that was his name. Like maybe Lil was like,
you thought his name was Bow Wow or Romeo?
Maybe Lil was a nickname, like the Lil.
Yeah,
but Bow Wow is his name.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
Lil Bow Wow Stevens. I don't know.
But
Lemony Snicket. That was
yeah. Lemony Snicket. He has the thing I like about Lemony Snicket is he's very experimental. He'll have chapters that break tense and just go off on their own thing. Like I remember he had one chapter that was just like a limerick, like the whole thing was just this long limerick. And I think that's a good example because a lot of new writers. And the reason I have a problem with these rules is that a lot of new writers, when they come in, they get overwhelmed by them. And you shouldn't focus on... There's no such thing as a perfect book. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as a perfect book. Every book has flaws. There can be work
except
done.
yours. Yours is perfect. But
yes,
anyways, continue.
Yes, mine is perfect.
Yes,
mine is perfect. Just that one. The others are garbage. I'm kidding. Okay, just that one. But anyway, that one was just divine inspiration.
Yeah. It's in the name Angelica.
Anyway, yeah, no, they get distracted, and every book needs work. Mm-hmm. Every book has its flaws, and so to a new writer, when you want to start writing, that's why I always tell new writers, read and write, because when you read, you're learning from example, and when you write, you're putting example into practice. There's 1,000 magazines, 1,000 courses you can take. There's millions and millions of things out there that can tell you how to write a book in a month, and that's just all bullshit. All of it is just all bullshit. Because really, when it comes down to the fundamental part of it, that's what it is. Just learn the fundamentals and just do it a lot.
Yeah.
Like what you said with podcasting, like you just did it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And, like with what Miyamoto said, I mean, it's like, with Miyamoto Musashi, things are gonna be difficult. You're gonna suck at first.
You are, and you gotta embrace that, man.
Exactly.
Like 100%. So I think you hit the nail on the head. Like to the point where I'm even getting inspired. I'm like, shit, I might write one day. But like that's so true. William, so we're coming up to the end of the show. So real quick, if you don't mind, I would love an autograph. You got an autograph? You gotta sign the book.
Dude, you gotta
make it out to your new fan, DJ.
To DJ. To JD. I'm gonna put JD just in. I'm just kidding.
It's like, no. Then I have to donate the book. Man, thank you so much. So we're gonna after you sign that, like I want you to plug in whatever you want people to. Where can people follow you?
Okay, so I am mainly on.
It's official.
Look at that shitty autograph.
No,
dude, my handwriting is garbage.
Mine is dumb. All right, so real quick, like I have poor signature, and this is the only decent one I could do because I was like telling my friends, I was like, my name is 2 letters. How can you do a signature? So I have it.
Does it not stand for anything?
It's actually my initials, but I go by DJ. So
anyway, so I'm on.
So where can
Twitter.
people follow you?
I am on Twitter at. Let me look at just to make sure I have it right. I don't ever. It's my first time plugging, so please come up. I'll be your best friend forever.
It's actually on the back of your books.
Is it? Yeah. Just do that.
I mean, I'll plug it, but I just don't.
No, I'll do it. I
just want you to say it, but
let me do it. Okay. Yeah. So. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Burk Will, on Twitter. And then I knew my Instagram one was kind of weird. It's at WilliamF.Burk4. Now, Burk has no E. It's B-U-R-K. So there's no E at the end. And then my website is williamfburk.com, and you can find all of my stuff there. And there's your book bag. And man, this has been great.
No, man, thank you so much. People, you got to check it out, especially this one, just because I'm gonna read his other work, but like you gotta read this one. That way we can talk about it and enjoy it, dude. I'm not just saying that I just met you, so I don't owe you anything. I'm saying this is great, man. You have something. You created relatable characters. You created an interesting story. This is not gonna be the last time you're ever gonna be on the show. Like, we'll definitely have you on other times, but man, again, thank you so much for taking the time, taking the drive. Thank you so much, man.
For sure, man. For sure.
All right. See, this is what I was talking about
before. It's like kind of hard.
It was awkward. That's why I had to like
fist bump. Yeah, fist bump. That'll work better.
But thank you.
Alrighty,
you so much.
brother. Well, thanks, man.
Yeah, man. All right. Take it easy, guys. See you.